As you've no doubt heard, climate change is a huge issue that humanity has to deal with, and pollution and carbon emissions play a big part in that. Big cities like Chicago or New York City are powered mostly by non-renewable resources that create pollution and carbon emissions. My project is inspired by one simple question. What if they're all powered by renewable energy resources instead? So, I decided to model a version of Chicago that doesn't really exist now, that's completely gotten rid of non-renewable resources. A Chicago of the future. Well, more like the near future. Since I can't exactly model all of Chicago, I decided to focus on one section, that being the space shown on the screen right now. And instead of taking you through the long materials and procedures list by just rattling off bullet points, I want to talk about how I made my project in sections, and I'll bring up the materials as they come up. First is the basic model itself, which is essentially an art project. I used a trifold board as the base, which I cut to be a little more square. I then used my scale, which was 613 feet to 1 inch, to draw where all the buildings would be on the model. I then used corkboard and, after I ran out of the corkboard, cardstock to construct the biggest buildings. I put miniature solar panels on top of them after the fact. The next section dives into something a little more scientific, that being the running water system. The first thing I did was use scissors and wire cutters to cut the edge off of 5 small clear plastic bins, and then use a monstrous amount of hot glue to glue it all together and create the Mega Bin. After making it as water sealed as I could with waterproof tape and shoe glue, 2 small holes were cut into the Mega Bin, which plastic tubing was threaded through and connected to a water pump. This system created the illusion of running water. Finally, we have the element that was the hardest to make. The makeshift maglev train. I'm saying makeshift because it's technically not magnetic levitation, but that's what represents the model. The materials are fairly simple. Bare copper wire, a dry cell or alkaline battery, and neodymium magnets that are slightly larger than the diameter of the battery. But in execution, a myriad of problems arise. The copper wire is too thin, the magnets are too big, the magnets are too small, to just name a few. We eventually had to go to Home Depot and get new copper wire and magnets because the sizing was all wrong. And after that, we couldn't get the copper wire to coil tight enough to work. After lots of failure to get anything to work, we got a small coil pictured here to successfully work. But try as we might, we couldn't replicate its success. So eventually, we settled with what we had and decided a short makeshift train that worked was better than a long makeshift train that didn't work. Also, I couldn't find a super organic way to fit this in, but my independent variable is the renewable energy related things added to the model, and the dependent variable is the carbon emissions produced. Piggybacking off of that, the control group is the layout of the neighborhood itself, and the experimental group is the renewable or non-renewable energy used. After we finished building, we combined all the features together, and here's some of the videos we took. I hypothesized that my model would produce less carbon emissions than Chicago currently does. And by the results, my hypothesis was proven correct. This is because if a neighborhood in Chicago I used currently produces around 680,000 carbon dioxide a year, my neighborhood would produce around 11,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide a year. This is the result of 4 solar panels that I used, which created around 300 tons of carbon dioxide a day, and the maglev would produce no emissions. All in all, my project shows that renewable energy sources can and likely will become more prominent in the future, since they truly do have a better effect on the environment. Thanks for watching!